Everyone knows Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as the unstoppable force who went from wrestling rings to becoming Hollywood's highest-paid actor. But what if I told you that behind those iconic eyebrow raises and that million-dollar smile, The Rock was falling apart? What if the family movies everyone mocked him for weren't just career mistakes, but desperate attempts to save himself from drowning? This is the story nobody saw coming, about how divorce, depression, and a pair of fairy wings became the most real thing in his life. The year was 2007, and Dwayne Johnson seemed to have it all figured out. He'd conquered wrestling, was breaking into Hollywood, and had a beautiful family. But behind closed doors, his 16-year relationship with Dany Garcia was crumbling. They'd been together since college at the University of Miami, got married in 1997, and welcomed their daughter Simone in 2001. From the outside, they looked like the perfect power couple. But marriage isn't built on appearances, and sometimes even the strongest foundations crack under pressure. When they announced their split, the world was shocked. But what nobody knew was that The Rock wasn't just losing his wife, he was losing himself. The divorce hit him like a freight train he never saw coming. In his own words, when you get married, you sign up for the long haul. You make promises, you build a life, you create plans for forever, and then suddenly, forever ends. But what destroyed him wasn't just the end of his marriage. It was the thought that kept him up at night. The question that haunted every quiet moment. What kind of father was he going to be? He had a little girl who needed him, and he was barely holding himself together. The man who'd faced down opponents in the ring, who'd built an entire persona on being unbreakable, was breaking. And this time, there was no script to follow. Depression doesn't care about your bank account or how many people cheer your name. During this period, Dwayne was going through something he later described as another bout with the darkness. The word "another" is important here, because this wasn't his first time fighting this invisible opponent. Years earlier, when his football dreams died and his CFL career ended with just $7 in his pocket, depression had knocked him down before. But this time felt different. This time, he had more to lose. He was trying to figure out who he was outside of his marriage, how to be present for his daughter while feeling absent from his own life, and how to keep showing up to movie sets when all he wanted was to disappear. But there's something about The Rock's relationship with mental health that goes even deeper, something that shaped him long before Hollywood or wrestling fame. When Dwayne was just 15 years old, he witnessed something that would haunt him for decades. His mother, Ada Johnson, was struggling with her own demons, and one day on Interstate 65 in Nashville, she tried to end it all. Imagine being a teenager and watching your mother walk into oncoming traffic. Big rigs swerving, horns blaring, and in that split second, Dwayne ran into the chaos and pulled her back. He saved her life that day, but the trauma of that moment never really left him. The most chilling part? His mother has zero memory of it happening. To this day, she doesn't remember the moment her son became her hero. That kind of trauma doesn't just fade away. It stays with you, hiding in the shadows, waiting for your own dark moments to resurface. And in 2007, when his marriage fell apart and depression came back, all of those old wounds opened up again. So what does a man do when he's drowning and nobody can see the water? Dwayne Johnson did something nobody expected. He put on a tutu and became the Tooth Fairy. Between 2007 and 2010, while critics and fans were confused about his career choices, The Rock was deliberately picking the lightest, happiest, most unchallenging roles he could find. The Game Plan in 2007, where he played a football player learning to be a dad, Race to Witch Mountain in 2009, and then Tooth Fairy in 2010, where the people's champion literally wore fairy wings and collected teeth. Critics destroyed these movies. Wrestling fans felt betrayed. Even Hollywood insiders questioned what he was doing. But here's what nobody understood at the time. He wasn't choosing these roles for his career. He was choosing them for his survival. In his own words, he didn't want anything that was going to challenge him to rip his guts out. He wanted stuff with happy endings. He was manifesting joy through children's movies because real life had none to offer. Every scene where a kid smiled, every moment where families came together, every predictable happy ending was medicine for a soul that desperately needed to believe things could work out. He loved making those movies not because they were great art, but because they were exactly what he needed to feel human again. But even in his darkest period, something unexpected was blooming. Back in 2006, while still married to Danny, Dwayne met someone on the set of The Game Plan. Her name was Lauren Hashian, daughter of Boston drummer Sib Hashian. He later admitted that within 30 seconds of seeing her, he thought she was stunning. But timing is everything, and both of them were coming off painful situations. They kept things quiet, building something real away from cameras and headlines. For 12 years, they built a relationship that wasn't about red carpets or public declarations. They just existed together, and slowly, Dwayne started healing. Lauren gave him 2 more daughters, Jasmine in 2015 and Tiana in 2018. And in 2019, they finally got married in a private Hawaiian ceremony with their girls by their side. She didn't fix him because broken people don't need fixing. But she gave him space to put himself back together. And that made all the difference. Now here's where the story gets really interesting. Most divorced couples can barely stand to be in the same room. They fight over custody, split assets, and spend years in bitter resentment. But Dwayne and Danny Garcia, they built an empire. Right after their divorce in 2008, Danny became his manager. Then in 2012, they co-founded $7 Productions, named after that $7 he had in his pocket when football ended. People thought they were crazy. How could you work with your ex-wife? But what they realized was that while marriage wasn't in their cards, building something bigger than both of them was. Their company has now grossed over $4.6 billion at the box office. They've produced everything from Jumanji to Red Notice to his HBO series. Danny moved on too, marrying Dave Rienzi in 2014, who's actually The Rock's strength and conditioning coach. Everyone moved forward, nobody held grudges, and they turned a painful ending into a powerful partnership. They even bought the XFL together and have massive deals with Disney. In Dwayne's words, marriage may not have been in their cards, but building a business empire definitely was. And that took time, healing, and the kind of maturity most people never find. By 2018, something shifted in Dwayne Johnson. He'd spent years quietly battling his demons, but he finally found his voice. He started opening up about his depression, not just the 2007 bout, but all of it. The football dreams that died, the divorce, and even a third wave of darkness that hit him in 2017. But this time was different because he had learned something crucial. He learned to identify what he called the gray instead of the blue. He learned that depression never discriminates. It doesn't care if you're rich or poor, famous or unknown, strong or weak. And most importantly, he learned that talking about it doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. He started using his platform to encourage men especially to speak up, to admit when they're struggling, to understand that asking for help is the bravest thing you can do. His message resonated with millions because people don't need superheroes who never fall. They need real humans who fall and get back up. From having just $7 in his pocket to building a billion-dollar empire. From saving his mother on a highway to saving himself from his own darkness. From a painful divorce to one of the most successful business partnerships in Hollywood. From hiding his struggles to becoming a voice for mental health awareness. Dwayne Johnson's journey isn't just another rags to riches story. It's a reminder that success and suffering aren't opposites. They're often companions. His daughter Simone is now following in his footsteps as a fourth-generation WWE wrestler. He's co-parenting successfully with Danny while building a beautiful blended family with Lauren. And those family movies everyone mocked? They weren't his worst career choices. They were his most honest ones. They were a man in pain, choosing joy over darkness, hope over despair, and happy endings over the harsh reality he was living. The Tooth Fairy might have been critically panned, but it saved The Rock's life. And sometimes, that's the only review that matters. Behind every smile, there's a story. Behind every success, there's struggle. And behind The Rock, there was always just Dwayne, trying to figure it out one day at a time, just like the rest of us.